Namaskar everyone and welcome to the Navratri Satsang for today. So let us begin with the Prarthana. By the Guru's grace and the will of Sri Krishna. By the Guru's grace and the will of Sri Krishna, we have all assembled for this Navratri Satsang. May we have their guidance to be able to learn and adopt the teachings from the lives of our great Acharyas to progress on the path of our sadhana. Let us recite Guru Parampara. Lakshmi Natha Samarambham Nathayamuna Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Let us offer obeisance to the Alvas. Bhutam Saraschad Mahadahvaya Bhattanatha Shri Bhakti Sara Kulashekara Yogi Vahan Bhaktangri Renu Parakala Yatindra Mishran Shrimat Parankushamunim Pranatosmi Nityam. Let us pray at the lotus feet of Swami Ramanuja. Yo nityamachyuta padambuja yukma rukma vyamohatastaditarani trinaya mene asmadguror bhagavatosya dayaika sindhoho Ramanujasya charanau sharanam prapadye. So today on day 6 of our Navratri Satsang, we are going to talk about one of the persons who was a Shishya of Swami Ramanuja. So he came as in the disciplic succession to Swami Ramanuja. His name is Anantalvan. He is also known as Anantasuri, or sometimes he is called as Anantan Pillai, or sometimes he is called as Anantacharya. So whatever name, it refers to this person called Anantalvan. So let us offer our salutation to him first. Akhilatma Guna Vasam Agyanatimirapaham Ashritanam Susaranam Vande Anantarya Deshikam. I bow to Acharya Anantalvan, who is the repository of knowledge, mercy, and wisdom. The one Acharya who removes ignorance and is eminently eligible for surrender by disciples. So this is the shloka which is used to offer pranamas to Anantalvan. Now, how exactly this shloka came to be composed, we will see a little later when we go further along in our description. So this Anantalvan, actually we can be proud. He was born in Karnataka, in a place called Sirputtur or Kiranganur. I think now it is called Kiranganur, which is located very close to Srirangpatna, near Mysore. So he was born in the year 1053. Now what happened is, at the right age, all the karmas were performed for him, all the rituals were done, and he, along with some other people from his place, they had all heard of the glories of Swami Ramanuja. So they decided, they were all Sri Vaishnavas who were living in Karnataka, and hearing of the glories of Swami Ramanuja, they decided that they will go and become his disciples in Srirangam. So they all went to Srirangam. There, when they reached there, Swami Ramanuja welcomed them and he said, you can get Mantropadesha and you will become Shishyas under this person who was also one of the Acharyas there, who was called as Arulala Perumal Emberumanar. So this was actually, there was one person called Yagnamurti who had come from North India, who was an Advaitic philosopher, and he had come and he had debated with Ramanuja and accepted defeat at the hands of Ramanuja. Then he had surrendered himself to Ramanuja and become his Shishya. So Ramanuja had decorated him with his own name as part of it, Emberumanar. I think we talked about this in the previous satsang where we said that Ramanuja is also known as Emberumanar. And because he was won over by the grace of Perarulalan, who is the Lord Varadaraja. So this Acharya was given this name as Arulala Perumal Emberumanar. So Ramanuja told them that you take Mantropadesha and you be under his tutelage. So he did the samskaras and all for them, and he was their Acharya. However, at that time of giving them initiation, only he told them, see, I am doing this as a formality, but in reality, you please consider that Swami Ramanuja is only your Acharya. With that bhava, we said, I think last time when we were talking about some of the other acharyas, about Periyanambi, that how every acharya always feels that the Shishya is not his Shishya, but he is the Shishya of his Acharya, right? So this Anantalvan has certain compositions also, which are quite short, but very bhavapurna, very meaningful. So he's composed works like the Ramanuja Chatushloki, Goda Chatushloki, and Sri Venkatesha Itihasamale, which is a record of all the events that happened in Tirumala, in Venkateshwara's Sannidhanam in Tirumale. So now, what happened was after this Anantalvan came and he was taking part in all the upanyasams, all the pravachanas which were being conducted by Swami Ramanuja. So one day, what happened was when Swami Ramanuja was explaining the meaning of some of the Pashurams from this work of Nammalvar called Tirvaimoli. In that, it is told in one place that lot of flowers are to be offered to Lord Venkateshwara at Tirupati. He loves to be worshipped with flowers. However, at that time, and actually that is why it is called, Tirupati is called as Pushpa Mantapam, because there are a lot of flowers that grow there and they have to be offered to the Lord. The Lord enjoys seva with the flowers in Tirupati. So, unfortunately, however, because it was a very wild place, the way we know Tirumale now and the way it was at those times of Swami Ramanuja are greatly different. Now we have all the facilities there. We have all kinds of conveniences. It is so easy to visit that place. But during those times, first of all, it is a hill and there is no means of transport. There is no way to go and climb to the temple except by climbing up the hill. And that those forests were very wild. There was no habitation at all in that place. Nobody was living there. So it was very difficult and no one was able to stay there and do seva to the Lord. So one day, while talking about this, that Lord Venkateshwara loves worship by flowers, Ramanujar was feeling very sad and the Shishyas could see that there were tears in his eyes. So they asked him that, Swami, why are you feeling bad? What is the cause of your, sadness? So he said, I'm feeling sad that here in Sri Rangam, all of us, so many of us are there, and we are serving Lord Ranganatha here. But poor Lord Venkateshwara at Tirupati, there is nobody to serve him, to offer him pushpa. I'm feeling bad about that. And in the flow, he asked that, is any one of you ready to go and do service there? Everybody was quiet. But immediately, this Anantalvan stood up and he said that, Swami, I am ready to go now. So Ramanuja was very happy. He embraced him and he said, you are the only An Pillai. An Pillai means man. So you are the only man among everybody who is here. Why did he say that? Because it takes a lot of courage. It would have taken a lot of courage to go and live in Tirupati in those times with those kind of conditions that prevailed there. So he was very happy. And however, this Anantalvan's wife was pregnant. So Swami Ramanuja told him that it's okay, let her give birth and then you go after that, because it will be difficult for you to manage there. So Anantalvan said that right now at least it's only her that I have to manage. So it will be easy for me to travel now. After I have a child, if after the child is born, taking the child and going will be very difficult. So I'd rather, and I don't want any gap to be there between your expressing your wish and me fulfilling your command. So such was his Guru Nishtha. He said, you have told, I will go immediately. With your blessings and by the grace of Lord Venkateshwara, I'm sure everything will be fine. And he left that very moment with his wife. Right. Now, once he went there, it was the rainy season, so he tended to some plants and all that. They started growing very well, and he started doing pushpa kainkarya. He started making garlands with those flowers which were growing, and he was engaging himself in seva to the Lord by that method. Everything was going on fine. Now, hearing that he was doing such good seva, Ramanuja was also very happy. Now, however, Anantalvan thought that now it is rainy season, so it's fine. But soon, when the summer comes next and when this rain is no longer available, how will I be able to serve the Lord? How can I grow flowers if there is no water supply? So he decided that he would dig a pond so that the rainwater can collect in that pond, and that pond water can be used throughout the year for irrigating all those plants which have to grow. So he started digging a pond. Now there was nobody to help him, only he and his pregnant wife. So what he was doing is he was digging. He was using a crowbar and he was digging. And his wife, he used to fill the baskets with mud and give it to his wife. She would take it on her head and carry and go and dump it at a far off place and come back, right? You can see these pictures here at the side, it is shown. So what happened is, when he started doing this seva, both of them were working. Poor thing, she was pregnant, heavily pregnant, and it is difficult for her to carry that load and come back soon. So she was taking a long time. Now, however, after some time, what happened is she started coming very fast. So this Anantalvan was curious. He said, "What happened? All this time you were taking so long. Now, how come you suddenly started walking so fast?" So she said, "No, actually, there's one small boy, one Vaishnava boy who has come here, and he's helping me." In some versions of the story, they say hunter, whatever it is. Some one boy has come, and he's helping me to take the mud and throw it away. So Anantalvan got very angry. He said, "Why should you allow somebody else? This is our seva. This is our kainkarya which we are doing for the Lord. Why should we take help from anybody else? I will not allow this." So he told his wife, "Don't allow that boy. You only do the work yourself." So she told that boy that my husband is not allowed. So the boy said, "I will come and talk to your husband." So that boy came there. Anantalvan got very angry with him. He said, "You go away. I'm not willing to give you this work. This is something which we are doing as our seva, as our kainkarya. You have no right to come and interfere here. You go away. No matter. We will struggle, but we will do it by ourselves." He told like that. But that boy did not give up. Still, he was helping that pregnant woman, Anantalvan's wife. So again, when Anantalvam saw him doing this, he got very angry and he ran behind that boy with that crowbar in his hand only. As he ran, that boy ran. He saw Anantalvan is chasing him. So he ran and ran and ran, and this Anantalvan was running behind him, but he could not catch up with him. Then he thought, okay, I'm not able to catch this boy, but I should make him stop. So what he did was he threw that crowbar. That crowbar went and hit the chin of that boy, and blood started flowing from there. Now, by that time, they had reached the temple door. So that boy opened the temple door and he rushed inside. And Anantalvan, after some time, reached there and he also rushed inside in search of that boy. When he looked around here and there, everywhere, he couldn't find that boy. The boy was nowhere to be seen. So he went and, like in passing, he happened to reach in front of the Lord's Vigraha and he looked at the Lord and he noticed that the Lord's chin is bleeding. So, can you guess what had happened? It was the Lord Himself who had come to help Anantalvan in his seva. Now, when Anantalvan saw this, he was totally shocked and he was very upset. He said, "Oh my Lord, what have I done? I have hurt you." And he was so desperate, what can I do? What can I do? And he was wondering that, see, a human being's body is a prakritik sharira. And for that, there is blood, and you can do something to stop the blood from flowing. But this is aprakrita. This is called as the Tirumeni of the Lord. It is the holy form of the Lord. It is not made out of any Panchamahabhuta. So what can I do? What can I do to reduce the suffering of the Lord? And in his desperation, what he did was, there was some pachakarpura which was lying there, some camphor which was lying there. So he picked up a bunch of that, one big handful of that, and he pressed it on the chin of the Lord from where the blood was oozing out. And there, that camphor stood. It stayed there, stuck there, and it gave relief to it, prevented that further damage. So till today, if you see any picture of Lord Venkateshwara, and if you go to Tirupati and see also, there is on the chin of the Lord one bit of raw camphor, one round thing which is always applied there. I have shown it in this diagram here, in this picture here, right? So that is in remembrance of the seva done by Anantalvan. And in fact, at the point where you enter into the Tirupati temple also, into the Tirumala temple also, that crowbar of Anantalvan, with which he hit the Lord, that is actually also displayed there. And there is a board there which says Anantalvar's crowbar, right? So this was how the Lord comes to be decorated with that camphor every day. That time Anantalvan put it for a different purpose. Now the Lord has taken that itself as his abharanam, one of his adornments. Okay, so like this, Anantalvan kept doing lot of pushpa kainkaryam to the Lord. Now there are many incidents that happened when Anantalvan was in Tirumala. First, for example, there was this incident. One day, he was working in the garden, isn't it? All the time he was tending to the gardens, taking care of the plants, picking the flowers and all that. So there was a snake that came and bit Anantalvan. Now, his Shishyas saw this, but Anantalvan was least bothered. He said, "No problem. So what if the snake is bitten?" They said, "No, no, no, you should take medicine for it." He refused to agree. He said, no problem, nothing is going to happen. I will not take any medicine and all. It's okay, let me get on with my seva. So finally, these Shishyas were so desperate, they dragged him and they took him in front of the Lord. And they said, they narrated all this to the Lord. And the Lord also told Anantadvan that, see, you should take some medicine for it. What will happen if you die? What if you die because of the snake bite? That time, very calmly, Anantadvan told him, see, actually, this Sharira of ours is also like a snake. Now we will see whether that external snake is very powerful or this Sharira is more powerful. If the poison of that snake with which bit me is stronger, then I will die. If I die, I will go to Vaikunta. But before going to Vaikunta, I will take bath in the Viraja Nadi, which is there at the border between Vaikunta and the other lokas. So I will bathe in the Viraja Nadi. Then I will go into Vaikunta and I will worship you in Vaikunta. But let us suppose that this body is more strong than that snake which bit me, then I will be fine. Nothing will happen to me. I will take bath in the Swami Pushkarni here and I will come and sing praises of you only. So, in either way, it makes no difference at all. Why should I take any medicine? Such was the bhava of Anantalvan. So much bhakti to the Lord, and how much nishtha towards his seva, and how much vairagya and detachment, and no fear of what is going to happen to the body. Those are the qualities that we must try to learn from him. Now, one time what happened was, this Anantalvan was in Tirumala and then he had to go to some other place. So he went, and because he was like, you know how people of that category of bhaktas are, that they will not eat outside food and all that. So he carried some prasada. His wife had cooked and given something. He carried some prasada with him and he was traveling. Now, when he reached that other place where he had to go, he opened that bag to eat and he noticed that there were ants in that. What he did, he walked all the way back to Tirumala and he put away that prasada on the bhumi there. Now his Shishyas saw him doing this and they said, what is this, Swami? You had gone to that other place. Did you complete the work? Why have you come back so soon? So he said, no, see these ants? I had to bring them back to Tirumala. So they were surprised, like, why did you have to bring them back to Tirumala? So Anantalvan told that one of our Alvars, Kulashekar Alvar, has sung that I am an Alvar and I am now having human form, but I want to see always the Lord's form in Tirumala. So I don't mind becoming anything on the hill of Tirumala. That's a very beautiful episode, actually. We don't have time to discuss that whole thing of what all the Alvar is singing. I don't know if I have talked about it in some previous satsang, but definitely at some other point of time, we will talk about that in detail. So Alvar has sung that I don't mind becoming anything on Tirumala hill just so that I can have darshan and be in the sanidhya of the Lord. So suppose, who knows whether these ants are not the avatara of that Kulashekar Alvar, and or if not Kulashekar Alvar, they may be some great yogis, they may be some great, some muktatmas or some nityatmas who have taken birth in this form so that they can be on the hill of Tirumala in the Sanidhya of the Lord. And what right do I have to take them away from Tirumala? That is why I have brought these ants back to Tirumala. That was the bhava of Anantalvan. Now, at another point of time, another day, what happened was, okay, so these things show us about how he had nishtha towards the Lord, right? Similarly, he had even more nishtha to his acharya, towards Ramanuja. Now, one day what happened was, he was very busy with trying the flowers. As he was tying the flowers to make garlands, the flowers were fresh. He had just plucked them and brought them, and he was quickly making the garlands because he wanted to offer them when they are still in their fresh state to the Lord. So, as he was making those garlands, there was a messenger who came there from the temple and said, Anantalvan, come fast. The Lord Balaji is calling you. He wants to discuss something with you. He's calling you to come there at once. So, Anantalvan said, go and tell your Lord that right now I'm busy in making flower garlands. I cannot come right now. I will come after some time. So the messenger went there and repeated that to the Lord. Lord said, how can he disobey my summons? I am calling him. He should come when I call. Go and tell him that I order him to come. So the messenger went again and told Anantalvan. Anantalvan said, even if he orders, I am here on this Tirumala from the orders of my Acharya. I came here because Ramanujacharya told me that I should be doing Pushpa Kainkaryam to the Lord. So when it comes to a decision between my Acharya's orders and the Lord's orders, I am going to obey my Acharya's orders only. Even if Lord's order has to become secondary, then I'm not bothered. My nishtha is to my Acharya first. So I will not come right now. If these flowers get spoiled and I offer those wilted flowers to the Lord, then my Acharya will be unhappy with that. So I want to do what my Acharya has told. And that is why I will not come right now. Messenger went back to the Lord and told him that. Now, after some time, Anantalvan finished making those garlands and all, and he came there and he offered all those garlands to the Lord. And he was quite upset that what is this Lord? He's ordering me like this. So actually, what he did, he kept that basket of flowers in the place where it was supposed to be kept, so that the archakar could offer it to the Lord. And he started walking away without even looking at the Lord. At that time, the Lord called out to him. See, can we imagine how great this devotee must be that the Lord himself is talking to him? Normally, the Archavatara forms, the Lord, gods don't talk like that. But to Anantalvan, the Lord was always having a conversation with him. That is his greatness. So he started walking away. The Lord called out, Ananta, come here. And he said, what is this that you have been telling the messenger? Are you not scared of me? Now, what will you do if I ordered you to leave Tirumala and go? You have disobeyed me, right? And I am the Lord of Tirumala. So, what if I tell you to go away from here? What will you do then? So, Anantalvan very calmly he smiled and he said, Swami, you can tell me to go. But I have come here from the Agnya of my Guru. I have not come here directly through you. I have come through my Guru. So even if you tell me to go away, it is not going to affect me. Till my Guru tells me to go away from here, I am not going to go anywhere. This was the response of Anantalvan. Then he told another thing, moreover, which made Lord Balaji to keep very quiet. He said, I am a visitor here. I have come here from Srirangam by the instructions of my Guru. Actually, you also have no right to tell me to go away from here because you are also a visitor here, he said. The Lord was surprised. He said, what do you mean I am a visitor? He said, no, when you first came to Tirumala, Srinivasa Perumal, and you came here, this land belongs to Lord Varaha. You yourself requested a place from him and you started staying here. So you are also a visitor, just like I am also a visitor. Until my Acharya tells me I am not going to go anywhere from here. The Lord was very happy to see this Acharya Nishtha of Anantalvan, and he blessed him. And he said that you are so dedicated to your Guru. I am very happy at your dedication to your Acharya. And definitely, anybody who is a part of your Vamsha, anybody who has any kind of contact and sambandha with you, not only you will get moksha, all those people also, I guarantee that they all will get moksha. Such was the joy of the Lord to see this Nishtha, Acharya Nishtha of Anantalvan. At another time, when Anantalvan had gone to some other place on a yatra of some Divya Deshas, and then he went to another village, which was not any Divya Desha. There was no holy place there. But he went there and he saw one Sri Vaishnava doing some farming in the place there, in the farm. He was doing his work. So Anantalvan asked him that, how come you are here? Where are you from? So that man said, I am from Tirukolur. Tirukolur is actually a very famous place where there is Divya Desha. So he was shocked. Anantalvan was shocked. He said, why did you leave Tirukolur and come to this, normal, ordinary place where there is no Sanidhya of the Lord? Why did you come here? So that man said that I was in Tirukolur, but I had no occupation there. There was no work for me. I could not grow, tend to the crops there. Nothing was working out for me in that place because I didn't have any job there. I came to this place and see now here I'm doing farming and I'm earning a good livelihood. Anantalvan mocked at him. He said, what is this? Even if you had stayed in Tirukolur, if you had just been herding donkeys also, it would have been a much, much, much better situation for you than to come here and earn lots of money and your livelihood. How can somebody not stay in a Divya Desha and in fact go away from the Divya Desha and stay in some mundane place? This was the question of Anantalvan. So not only he had Nishtha to the Acharya, he had Nishtha to the Lord, but he also had Nishtha to the Divya Deshas. He had so much respect for holy places. So these are some of the things that we learnt about Anantalvan. Now, once you remember yesterday satsang, we talked about Parashara Bhattar. So once when Parashara Bhattar was the Acharya in Srirangam, and Anantalvan was in Tirumala. There was some discussion going on amongst the disciples of Parashara Bhattar. The topic was going on, and one of the Shishyas had a doubt. He asked Parashara Bhattar that, Swami, I want to know what are the qualities of a Sri Vaishnavan? Who is a Sri Vaishnava? What kind of qualities should they have? So Parashara Bhattar didn't answer that question himself, although it was very easy for him to have answered. But he wanted to teach by example. So what he did was, he sent the Sishya. He said, see, there is one very exalted disciple of Swami Ramanuja who is constantly doing Kainkarya in Tirumala. You go to him and you ask him this question. He will give you the answer. So you go there. Now, it is very difficult to go from Srirangam to Tirupati, isn't it? It's so far. And yet this disciple, he went there. With great difficulty, he reached. Now there, when he reached, there was Annadana which was going on. Everybody was being served prasadam. So this Shishya went and he stood quietly in one corner. One batch of prasadam was served. So many people were having prasada and they went. Then he tried to fit into the other batch, but somehow he was not able to fit in. And everybody, the second batch also sat, and for a long time they had their prasada and they went. Finally, after a long time, this person's turn came. And all along, he was just patiently standing quietly at the side and waiting patiently for his turn. Now, Anantalvan had noticed him, right? And he asked him that, who are you? Where have you come from? What is the purpose? Why are you standing here like this? So that disciple of Parashara Bhattar told him that I have come like this from Parashara Bhattar's this thing and from Srirangam. And I want to know this answer to this question. And when I asked the question, my Acharya sent me to you. Who is a Sri Vaishnavan? How is a Sri Vaishnavan by nature? So Anantalvan gave a very cryptic reply, which in Tamil it is told as Kokkei pol irpan, Koye pol irpan, Uppei pol irpan, Ummei pol irpan. Irpan means he will be. So Kokkei pol, Kokka means a heron or that baka anta bird that bird, that heron which stands in the water on one leg, right? Koli means everybody knows it's a hen. Uppu means salt, and ummeipol means like you. He told this much, and that Shishya said, can you please elaborate on that? I am not able to understand the meaning of what you have told. Like, why are you specifying these particular things? So he said, you go back to your Acharya, he will explain to you. You take my answer and go back to your Acharya, he will explain to you. So when this Shishya went back, Parashara Bhattar explained the meaning of this entire thing. First, the Sri Vaishnava is like a cook. So like a cook means just like the heron stands in water and keeps watching with concentration without being distracted by other things, it keeps its eye out for the fish. So it is entirely focused on catching the fish. Now, no matter what other things come in the water, it will not catch any of those, but it will only fix upon the right fish which it wants and catch only that. Similarly, when we are living here in this samsara, we should focus our attention on the Lord. Everything else should not matter to us. The other things may come and go like the other things in the water, the other organisms or small fish. But what we want is the big fish. We want the Lord Himself. So our focus and concentration should always be on that. So somebody who is focused entirely on the Lord, that person is a Sri Vaishnavan. First point. Second, like a Koli. Koli means what does the hen do? If you've noticed how the hen struts about trying to eat stuff, it will keep pecking at things in the mud. And then only the grains that it finds, which are going to be giving it ahara, it will only pick up those grains and it will totally ignore all the other things. So it will always be searching through and filtering out what is required, what is not required. Similarly, in the Shastras, there are a lot of things which are told. In the Vedas, in the Upanishads, in all the other scriptures, many things are told, out of which certain things are most important for us. Like we've seen when we talked about the other, in the other satsangs about Bhagavad Gita also, we have seen how in the Vedas, there are many aspects which are explained. There are many different kinds of homas, yagas, which are prescribed for attaining certain specific goals. But as a sadhaka, what should be our aim? To reach moksha. So, what do we need for that? That is the only thing which should matter to us. All other things we should neglect and leave them aside. We should only pick that which is important for us to take us to moksha. So, like that, just as the hen picks only the sara, the essence of the most important thing that it needs, so also out of all the things told in the Shastras, we have to pick up the essence of what is the jnana, what is the thing that is going to take us to moksha. Third thing he told, the Sri Vaishnavan should be like uppu, like salt. What is this quality of salt? If we cook a dish and we do everything perfectly, but we don't put salt into it, that dish doesn't have any taste. Just like that, that salt is a simple thing. It is not even visible in the dish where you have put it. But that salt is what is giving the entire taste to that dish. Similarly, a Sri Vaishnavan should be somebody who totally, like the salt dissolves in the food. The Sri Vaishnavan is someone who has totally dissolved his ego. His identity as a person should not be visible anywhere. And yet, his absence should be felt by people around him. Such a person who has this unique quality of giving enjoyment to everybody, of being the cause of joy to everybody, but without imposing his ego, without imposing his personality there. This is a quality very important for a Sri Vaishnavan. And fourthly, he said, Ummai Polirpan, isn't it? Anandalvan told him, he will be like you. Why did he refer to that particular Sri Vaishnava who went there? Because although he had come after a very tiring journey, and he was there for such a long time, waiting for food to be served to him. Normally, we know that when people get hungry, they also get angry. But what was the level of sense control of that person? That he was patiently waiting for the time for his turn to come. Similarly, a Sri Vaishnavan is somebody who has lot of patience to wait for the right things to come to him, for the Lord's grace to come to him at the right time. So these are the qualities of a Sri Vaishnavan. So this is what we can also learn and try to practice in our life. Now, I said in the beginning that that shloka which was told in praise of Anantalvar, actually, it was given by the Lord Himself. The Lord Himself composed that. You remember I said that once Swami Ramanuja came to, Swami Ramanuja was happy with the seva that he was doing. And in fact, if you see this picture here, there's this Pushkarani which is there, which is the pool of water which Anantalvan built. He named it Swami Ramanuja Pushkarani. And once when Ramanuja came there, he refused to climb up that hill, saying that this hill is like Adishesha. It is like Anantashesha on whom the Lord is sitting. How can I defile it by touching my feet on it? And he was refusing to climb up. Then Anantalvan came there and convinced him that Swami, if you say something like this, and tomorrow how will all bhaktas come up? Then because Acharya only has not climbed up, nobody else is going to climb up this hill and come. So you please come. And it is told in some places, in fact, that Swami Ramanuja climbed up the hill, but he climbed it on his knees and not using his feet. And also, it is told that once he was on the hill, he stayed there for 3 days. And for those 3 days, Swami Ramanuja did not have any water, any food, nothing at all. Because having food and water means you would have to do your ablutions there. You would have to pass urine, pass stools, and he did not want to defile that hill. So, for that reason, he told that I will not eat anything, I will not drink anything. Such was the nishtha of Ramanuja towards that hill. Now, as I said, once Ramanuja had visited, there was another time when some disciples, or I think rather before Swami Ramanuja's visit, there were some other Sri Vaishnavas who were coming, who came to visit Tirumala. And as they were climbing, they also came from Srirangam. So it was very far and it was becoming very difficult. Like they were very tired. They climbed up, and they were climbing up the hill. They were about to reach. Somewhere halfway through, there was one young boy, one Sri Vaishnava boy who had worn all the Urdhva Pundra and all that. And he came there and he said, come, Swamis, I have come to welcome you. My Acharya has sent me. So they said, who is your Acharya? He said, I'm Anantalvan's Shishya. Anantalvan is my Acharya. So they said, oh, is it so really? And they asked him, that boy, what he did was, he had brought some prasada for them. And he said, please take this. You must be tired. So please take this prasada and then we can continue on the journey. They were not sure because I told people who have taken Diksha into this Sampradaya, they don't eat what is cooked at the hands of other people. So they want something which has been offered to the Lord, something which has been cooked by a Sri Vaishnavan, offered to the Lord and submitted to them. So they were not sure. So they asked him, whose Shishya are you? So he said like this. So they said, really? Then you must be knowing the Tanyan. Tanyan is the invocatory shloka that we recite. So you must be knowing, come on, tell us what is the shloka. And at that time, that small Sri Vaishnava boy recited this shloka that we recited at the beginning. And they were surprised and amazed. And they were convinced that, okay, so he is really Anantalvan's disciple. So they took the prasada, what he offered, and he said, I am going back. I have some other works there. So I am rushing back. You people, please come slowly, take rest and come. So after some time, and that boy went away. After some time, these tired yatris, they came there. And they spoke to Anantalvan. He was very happy and he received them well. And he said, it is so nice that you have come. And they told him that, thank you so much for sending the prasada for us. He was surprised. He said, what prasada? I didn't send any prasada. He said, no, there was one boy who came and he told us he is your disciple. Anantalvan said, I have no disciple. Who came? So they were worried. And then he said, what did he tell you? How did you believe that he was my Shishya? So they recited that shloka and they said, see, he told this shloka. And poor Anantalvan was overwhelmed because he realized that it was the Lord himself who had gone and he had taken upon himself the mantle of being the disciple of Anantalvan. Anantalvan thought himself a lowly disciple of Swami Ramanuja. And he said, Lord has condescended to this level. He's dropped down to this level to say that he is my Shishya. Oh, what punya I must have done. What is my good fortune that I got this honor from the Lord? And he was totally overwhelmed by that. And Lord had lot of respect and affection for Anantalvan. And till today, on the day which are considered as the birth day, birth nakshatram, the appearance day of Anantalvan and the disappearance day of Anantalvan. On those days, even now in Tirupati, in Tirumala, there is a special honor which is given. There is one tree under which a statue of a Sannidhi of Anantalvan Swami has been created. And till now, it is a custom that on those days which are special to Anantalvan, the Lord goes in a procession to that place and reaches that spot under the tree, and that Vigraha, that Murti of Anantalvan, is offered all honors, is offered Tirtha Prasada and Shatari, and the Lord himself blesses Anantalvan and comes back. And even now, the beautiful gardens that we see at Tirupati, whenever we go there, if we see those beautiful gardens in Tirumala, we must remember and pay our respects and homage to Anantalvan, who was not scared to go to that wild forest and initiate such a beautiful Kainkaryam, to continue doing that Kainkaryam for the rest of his life. So there are many more aspects actually which are there in Anantalvan's life. I have taken only a few of them. There are at least 4-5 more incidents. Maybe some other time when we have the occasion, when we have the opportunity, we will talk more about him, about this great Acharya. So actually now Anantalvan did not become an Acharya in that Sampradaya line, because after Ramanuja there was Embar, then after Embar there was Parashara Bhattar, and then there were other things. But Anantalvan has a very glorious sthana because he was such a great Shishya of Ramanuja. So much Guru Nishtha, Acharya Nishtha he had. So let us pray that Lord will bless us also with this similar kind of bhava. So let us offer gratitude to the great Acharya Parampara through which we can learn all these things. Let us offer gratitude to the commentators who have written all these meanings. And let us offer gratitude, Kritagnyata at the holy feet of Sri Krishna and Guru for letting us have this satsang. Let their grace and blessings be on all of us always. We'll meet again tomorrow evening at 6:30 with yet another of the Acharyas. Their Mahima we can study and learn from. Thank you so much everybody for attending. Namaskara.